Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this show. We're dropping the gloves. We got a good one today. We have Ryan Lomberg of the Calgary Flames, second stint with Calgary. Ryan, joining us from the visiting team's locker room. This is incredible. I see Kuzmenko's jerseys behind you. How cool is that? Thanks, Ryan, for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm happy to be here.
You know he's a good dude when we got the time mixed up. And Ryan's like, no, I want to be there. So let me figure it out. He jets over to the other team's locker room. He's in Calgary, but still, and he fires up the phone, and here he is. So what a good move. Most guys would say kick rocks. We'll figure it out another time. So I want to say thank you, Ryan. You're one of the good ones.
Yeah, of course. I've been watching you guys' stuff, so I'm happy to be on the show.
What do you think? Do you think we should just go all fighting this podcast then? We just talk about scrapping? Because you're not much of a fighter these days. What's going on?
Yeah, well, the game's changed a little bit since you've been in the league. It's fourth liners kind of get to play a little bit now instead of just going out and beating each other up. So it's all it's all the game within the game. So if there's a time and place, then of course I'm willing to step up. But our team's been doing a great job this year, and luckily we've been winning some hockey games. So there really hasn't been too many opportunities to kind of really fire the guys up and change things too much.
I actually wanted to ask you this, and I always tiptoe around it when we talk to fighters because it's like, well, how do you see yourself as a player? And I always check Hockey DB, see if they were skilled. And I would say, Tim, for the most part, all the fighters, skilled. You're the same. You scored 52 goals with the Hill Academy. I think you were still in high school there. You scored a bunch of goals in the AHL, the USHL. You played a lot of places. What type of player do you think you are now?
Yeah, definitely. Your modern day fourth line player that's gonna grind down the other team, step up for my teammates when need be. Accept the role of not playing as much as some of the other guys and being okay with it and encouraging the guys and just kind of being positive, upbeat, good teammate. That's kind of something I really pride myself in is being a great teammate and making sure my teammates know that. I'm not here to take anybody's job. We're all here on the same team, pushing in the right direction, and I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to encourage you to do yours.
This is totally not on the agenda. Tim's losing his mind right now. But okay. I was saying that, do you ever, because you've been a fourth line guy, I would say, I don't want to insult you, a good portion of your career, which is not a bad thing. You played in this league a long ass time. Does it annoy you when you see skill guys who are just too good to maybe put in that extra work? Because you're a physical guy, you work hard, you do what you need to do to stay in the league. And it annoyed me when I would see ultra skilled guys just not putting in the work to do what it takes to stay in the show. Do you see that these days?
Yeah, a little bit. It's more so for me. It's almost a little frustrating because you can see how good the player can be and how much he can help the team and how much more goals that person can score if they're willing to do. I'm not saying they got to go run around, but maybe a little bit more bite in the battles and stuff like that. There's definitely a little bit of that, but on our team here we got a great group of guys, great leadership group, and everybody holds each other accountable. And our coach Huska has been doing a good job of making sure that everybody plays the same way. Similar to the way it was in Florida. Everybody, didn't matter what line was on the ice. Obviously, the Barkovs and Kachucks are making that extra special play, but for the most part, the mindset was similar from the first line to the fourth line, and that's kind of what we're trying to build here is everybody playing the same way over and over again. And then, the big guys are going to make the big play when they have to. But for the most part, it's about, kind of collectively buying in.
And are you the key to Jonathan Huberdeau's success? Is that why they brought you in? Because last year, not so good. This year, he's coming around, playing good, second on the team in points. Are you the guy who gets him going, saying, Hubie, let's go?
I don't know. I maybe like to think that I am, but he's so good. It was just inevitable that he's going to produce. He's too good not to, and obviously extremely happy to see him having early on success here. It's important for the success of our team.
So let's get back to the Flames. You mentioned you're having a good year. Your second time in Calgary. Nice to come back. Let's talk about free agency first. How did you end up there? Coming off a Stanley Cup, did you just have GMs throwing contracts after you left and right?
Yeah, there were a decent amount of teams interested. I think my agent said there was like 16 teams that were kind of negotiating, and it was, luckily for me, I was in a good spot. The cap was going up. I'm lower on the cap totem pole, so it was kind of a perfect storm for myself. First time in my career, I kind of had that opportunity. It's funny. I keep telling people I always had a feeling that I would come back to Calgary. I never stopped watching them. Because between guys I played with in the American League, guys I played with for my time here, a couple of the coaches I played with in the American League and even in the East Coast League. And so I had a lot of ties. So I never really, I would always have my eye on them. And I knew that I could help them. I knew that they had a lot of good pieces. The city of Calgary is phenomenal. It's an amazing hockey market. I knew all they needed was just somebody to come and remind them how much fun that it can be and how good everybody is. And I thought it was a great opportunity for myself to kind of really establish my role and kind of my place on this team. And so far, I couldn't be happier with my decision. The city of Calgary's been amazing. The organization is first class. The guys are amazing. So it's all been incredible. Extremely happy to be back.
Well, and get some playing time too, because when you look at the roster, it wasn't deep. Coming into the season, you guys weren't projected to be good at all. And look at you now, you're third place, you're playing good hockey, you got a winning record. I want to go back to the 16. I feel like you brushed over that 16 teams. Kid coming out of University of Maine, undrafted, went back to the USHL, just fought his way to the NHL, basically. Not physical, but like you didn't take the easy road there. And all of a sudden, you're 29, third kid on the way. And you got 16 teams, Ryan, trying to sign you. Crazy.
It was pretty incredible. It's funny. My agents I knew we had a couple of chats leading up to the week prior, and my agent, one of them was actually on the parade bus with me. I brought him down, and so he's fielding calls and everything. And we got rained on, and he was wearing his phone got waterlogged, so he's like I don't know what to do. I'm like, go to the Apple store. I'm partying. You're working. Like, what do you mean? So he's like trying to air the thing out, and they did all the work behind the scenes. I'm incredibly thankful for them. They obviously helped filter out a lot of the teams and kind of figuring out what would be the best fit for me and the best opportunity. And obviously I think we made a great decision.
Well, so far so good. You're playing great. You're obviously making an impact on the team. Who on the Flames now? Because like I said, you guys weren't anybody's preseason bell. Is there one person, two person on the people on the team that you got there like, holy shit, this guy's good. He's better than I thought he was.
Razzie Anderson. I played with him in the American League, and it's just fun to be back with him. He's got I don't want to call it a cockiness, but he's just got the swagger, and he's just got swag to his game, and it's cool to see him being so effective in the NHL. I see it in the American League, and he's such a great teammate, such a great guy. So to be able to see now firsthand as his teammate, to see the success he's having is pretty incredible. And Nas is another guy that I knew. Toronto kid growing up. He was on the Leafs. He was a stud. Went to Colorado, won a cup. So I knew what he was about. But to see him again firsthand, it's pretty cool. He's got that big dog demeanor about him. He wants to make the play. He wants to have the puck. He wants to be that guy with the puck on a stick when the game's on the line. And you need guys like that. Watch it from afar. You don't really see those things, and it's cool to see it firsthand.
What is it that seems to really work with this group? Like you said, we surprised a lot of people. Third in the division. You've won 3 of your last 4. You've got a
who's busting your chops over there?
That was Sharky cruising by. I wonder what he was planning on getting up to it here. Actually, Sorry, Tim. What were you saying?
Yeah, so it's like, what is it about this team that works? Because you surprised a lot of people with the start you guys have had so far. You have a defenseman leading the team in points. It's not a super high number, and yet you guys keep winning. You won 3 of your last 4. You're third in the division. What makes this group work so well?
I think we're starting to figure out that we're gonna have to grind. We're gonna have to win games 2-1, 3-2. Like, we're not a run and gun team as much as guys want to be. We're just not gonna win that game, and it's a decision, whether you want to win or you want to, get your cookies and be happy. It's, well, what are we about now? So I think, I don't want to say it's a culture change because, Bax is in the leadership group has always been solid and great and encouraging hard work and doing the right things. But I think the proof's in the pudding now. Like, we're starting to get the results, and that means guys are buying in even more. So it's great. So we definitely got to grind, and that's why you see we don't really have the top guy that's putting up 40 points already or whatever the top guys are at. It's kind of, we're doing it collectively and as a group, and so far so good. Pretty proud of how the guys have been so far this year.
Oh yeah, Tim, look at their wins: 3-1, 2-1, 2-0, 3-0, 3-2 overtime. Like, they're not blowing teams out. We were just talking about the Bruins last episode because they gassed Montgomery, and I feel like they need you to go in that locker room and slap them around and say, "What the hell are we doing here? We're not the Bruins of 5 years ago who can run and gun and have shootouts every single night." It's, how hard is that for a pro athlete, Ryan, to just eat that humble pie a little bit and be like, "Hey, we got to grind this out, you guys." And how, once you figure it out, how nice is that to go into Barnes and be like, "These guys don't want to work hard. Let's go. Let's grind them out and get this W."
Yeah, you can see it, like, right away. You can tell if the team is willing to grind harder, as hard as we are, and it's pretty obvious. And it's cool now that the group is seeing that, and they realize that you don't have to make a spinorama breakaway play to score. Like, just keep grinding them down. Keep doing it, and the results will come, and they have been. It's a good thing that we're winning now, because that's definitely the hurdle, I think, and changing the style of play is guys having to accept the fact that you're going to score less, you're going to get less points, but we are going to get more points, and we are going to get more wins, and we are going to get to the playoffs, and we are going to do great things. So it comes down to the man. It's what do you want to do? Do you want to win games, or do you want to just score a goal and be okay with losing? So again, I think that the guys have done a phenomenal job of buying in, because for me, it hasn't really changed. I'm gonna grind. I'm gonna work my bag off no matter what. But for the top guys that get away with doing it because they're so good that they can make those plays, it's tough. But it's also the flip side of that. It's, as a teammate, it's so encouraging to see the guys buy in. It's so encouraging to see guys like Hubie blocking shots and back checking and doing all the little things that everybody on the outside doesn't notice, but the guys on the bench and the coaches, that's the stuff right there. Because the guys know I'm going to work hard. They know I'm going to be physical. They know I'm going to back check. But when it's the big guys, the guys that, quote unquote, don't have to do it, when they do it, things change, and things are starting to change here.
I did notice before Tim wants to jump in. I'm sorry, Tim. I noticed that I saw a clip after you got in one fight this year versus Bastion in New Jersey. I noticed it in the locker room. You beat this guy's doors up. Like, let's be honest. It was a one-sided affair. You just dropped them. You felt bad, you said, in the locker room. What caught me was the boys coming into the room. They were so happy. Like, that's rare. I fought hundreds of times. There's only a few locker rooms where the guys come in and like, "Johnny boy, that's unbelievable." Can you tell? Like, it's a great room based on the reaction, because that's special when you beat the doors off somebody, you're fighting, the team comes in and is like, "Oh, we love that."
Yeah, it's great, and I'm actually getting goosebumps thinking about it. That's the little stuff. Like, you have to get enjoyment out of your teammates having success, right? Like, I'm happier. I don't know about happy, but like just as happy when somebody else scores, or somebody's struggling and they score. Like, those are the moments, and those are the things that make a team a team. When guys are so selfless and actually genuinely care for one another, and that's what we're building here, and that's kind of that's the foundation of a great team is you got to have that brotherhood, you got to have that connection, you got to be willing to do all the dirty, hard things that aren't pretty. You got to be willing to do it for each other, because at the end of the day, that's who it's for. That's who it's for. So to see that. We have a lot of that. There's so many examples of that this year, whether it's a guy blocking a shot or, like I said, Hubie back checking and stuff like that. So it's so encouraging for me to see that the guys actually are care for one another and care for the success of one another, individually, and that's just going to help us become more successful as a team.
Well, for a player like you who brings so much energy and grit and sandpaper and all that good stuff, what are the games and the teams in the series that seem to bring out the best of you? Will you look forward to like a Boston series or a Carolina series and going back to your time in Florida? Like they bring out the best version of Ryan Lomberg and you seem to rise up to that.
Yeah, the playoffs is so much fun. If I were to choose, I'd probably rather play against a softer team, so I'd be one of the only guys running around.
That's funny. I told you, Tim.
Because when you play against a heavy team, I love it, I do, but it's just harder, right? It's just there's no free space. You're getting hit all the time, and it's obviously playoff hockey expected, but I'd rather be the guy giving it out 100% of the time versus 50-50.
Do you? Okay, and be honest here. Don't lie to the listeners or me. When I played, we played Ottawa a lot. Chris Neal was on the team, and it was night and day if I was in the lineup and I wasn't in the lineup. If I was in the lineup, he was a church mouse, didn't say a word. If I wasn't playing, toughest guy in the world. Do you change the way you play just a little bit versus if you're playing like, okay, Montreal's, I got Arbor guy, maybe I'm not going to take a run at Cole Caulfield versus a team like Detroit. It's like I'm going to bury everybody because they have absolutely nobody. Or did you just go out there and play your game? Be honest, Ryan.
Yeah,
be honest.
It's definitely the game within the game, right? You got to tiptoe the line. I like to think that my style of play doesn't change. You obviously are aware that they're there, and you don't do anything unnecessary to kind of put your teammates in harm's way. So maybe you tone down like the extra stuff a little bit. But as far as like playing hard goes and stuff, that all stays the same. For me, kind of something that's changed in me is the way I approach it mentally is, you in the American League, I used to be the guy that would run goalies and, just all that stuff until my goalie started to get hurt. And then everybody's looking at me, and it goes through the same with my time in Florida. Like if I take a run that doesn't need to be done against a top player on the other team, and now Barkov takes a knee on knee and he's out for 2 months, like that's on me. So for me, if it's a clean hit, I'll never pass up on a clean hit. I don't care if it's McDavid or whoever. I'll try hitting him as hard as I can. But it's definitely the fine line of kind of not putting your own guys in harm's way, but at the same time, obviously making sure that the other team feels your presence.
I don't think people get that eye for an eye mentality in hockey. And that's, I don't know if you're young. I jumped Phil Kessel in preseason one time. It was because
I was up in Toronto. I remember that.
See, everybody hated me in Toronto. It was because their tough guy went after one of our smaller guys. And I said, I have to make up for it. It's an eye for an eye, man, and that's what happens. I was thinking
I actually didn't even know that. I actually didn't even know that part.
You just thought I was this crazed animal who just decided to jump Phil.
Oh man! Regardless, I loved it. I loved it. I love Phil's reaction to the backpedaling and try hacking it down like a tree.
He got 5 games for that, and Clarkson got 10. I didn't get any. I was scot-free. It was beautiful.
Well, he came off the bench and didn't do much as far as I remember. But
he didn't do a thing. He came up and stared at me. What are you doing, Scotty? I'm like, shut up. Clark's like, get out of here. All right, you mentioned you were a rat in the AHL. I've had a bunch of guys. Patrick Coletta. I've had Tom Sestito. I've had a bunch of guys. Let's fight. I drop my gloves. Then they skate away. What's the greasiest thing you've ever done? Because you mentioned running goalies. What's the one thing you look at and you go, oh, maybe that was too far?
Craziest thing, probably in the American League when I ran a goal. It was funny. It was my first ever American League game, and Colton Orr was my line mate and my stall mate, and he kind of knew my game, and obviously I knew his. Like, again, growing up in Toronto, this guy's a legend, absolute mutant, and he looks at me before the game and he's like, "Have fun doing whatever you want on the ice tonight, kid, because nobody's gonna fucking touch you." I'm like, I'm a king of candies. This is the coolest thing that I could have ever heard. Like, forget about going to score. Like, we're gonna score tonight. Like, no. That's the coolest thing I could have heard. And so we were down like 3 or 4-1. Garbage time. Must have been 4 or 5-1 actually. Garbage time. We're on the ice with like 2 or 3 minutes left. Puck goes to the net, and I must have been, maybe 10 feet away. Whistle goes, and then I just blew him up. So I'm like, I got to do something. And all I heard is, "Orzy, stop! Orzy, settle down! Orzy this, Orzy that." So I go and I watch the footage, and Orzy just peeling guys off of me, just one by one, just peel them off me. Nobody asked me to fight. Nobody did anything other than like the dog pile initially, but it was that was greasy for sure. Looking back, but it was, I just kind of had to because Orzy was there.
He's one of the few guys who beat me up. He was a tough. Is it true that he has a metal plate on his hand because he broke his hand and got like metal pins or a plate put on his knuckles?
I don't know, but there's something going on with his hands for sure. He's got fingers going different ways and knuckles popping out, and he's different.
That makes me feel better. Have you ever been grabbed by a guy for what you've done? Like a tough guy, just like, "We're going"?
Like, I always love to ask the tough guys on my team to show me some things. So I kind of saw it in Orzy's eyes when he grabbed me, showing me some things. But tough guys, I hit. There was a hit I did in Colorado, and McDermott came after me. Didn't fight him. I fought Ross Johnson one time.
Ooh.
That didn't go so well for me. But it was that was my first stint here. I was trying to make a name for myself, and obviously bit a little more than I could chew. But it is what it is. I'm gonna live and die by the sword. So.
Well, you've only gotten 1 this year and 2 last year, so it's not like you're this tough guy. Is there just not a lot of options out there because you've shown you're tough? Is it just kind of like your weight class is not really there? It seems like there's a ton of heavies now and not a lot of middle lightweights.
Yeah, and those middle lightweights usually they're not willing to go just to go, right? Like they're not willing to put their team in a disadvantage, or if we're down 2 and I need to get the boys going, like chances are that guy is not willing to do it. So yeah, there's definitely, less attention than I was used to getting. But it's all kind of part of it. Like you said, there's some heavies now back in the game, which is, I think, good for the game and good for the league. And but yeah, it's more so now just kind of playing the game within the game. Like, don't get me wrong, if one of the big boys, buries our captain from behind, I'll do something to match it as well. So and I think they kind of know that now as well. So there's like a little bit of that, a little bit of the reputation maybe is kind of deterring some guys from coming my way.
Yeah, so obviously winning the cup last year with Florida, and did you notice anything different coming so close in prior years? You guys were a wagon for many years down there, like lessons learned or things that changed in the way that you approach the game in order to finally get that done, or was it just a matter of just winning the games one at a time?
Yeah, you definitely. To go back to back finals, that was a rare occurrence. We knew that if we didn't get the job done the second time, then obviously they're a wagon again. But chances of them going back to back to back are highly unlikely. And so we knew, you almost get that desperation. You don't want to feel that feeling again, the feeling of looking at Vegas, lifting the cup, and everybody going nuts and all that stuff. It really does kill you inside. So, really from day one camp, the following year, you can kind of feel it that we were out on a mission. And it was, it's crazy. It almost felt like the season didn't even start until the playoffs. Like obviously we had a good year, but things kind of changed once playoffs came. Guys dialed it in, even extra, and it was just kind of that vibe. Like, okay, like now this is time. Like, let's get the job done. It doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter what game it's in. It doesn't matter if we're down, if we're up. We're here to win. We're here to take some flesh out of the other team and do it with a smile on our face. And doesn't matter. Maurice would always say he played for the 7-game series, right? So we beat down teams D. We nonstop. You look at the lineup, everybody was finishing checks every chance they got. So in the event we go to 7, those guys are barely standing. They're hurting, and then that's when we're going to get them. So for us, it was we don't care how long it takes. We're going to get the job done.
You played against Connor McDavid in the Stanley Cup Final, Game 7. Like, how cool was that? Just talk, like, because that's every kid's dream. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's and that's like a question I get a lot is like, were you guys nervous? You guys just were up 3, then lost 3 straight, and it's like, yeah, those are the facts. That is the situation. But you wake up, or you go to bed after Game 6, and you wake up and you have a chance to play in a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, the biggest stage in our game. It was nothing short of incredible, excited. Guys were so jacked up just to get that opportunity. Like, and now we're at the end of the road, right? Like either way, this is it. This is our last dance, boys. So it's crazy looking back how calm we were. There were no nerves. There was really no doubt that we were going to do it. So it's incredible to look back. Obviously now having won it all, and just the emotions were incredible. It was the coolest day ever.
Do you and not to put a downer on it, but I left the Hawks, and then they won the cup that year. I left. Do you talk to Hubie about it? You get to Calgary and you obviously wearing your ring, of course.
I actually don't have it yet. They're bringing it out. They come out in I think a few weeks, so they're bringing it.
Okay, so you haven't even worn it yet.
No.
So when you get it, would you be like, "Hey, Jonathan, sorry, bro"?
No, if he has to see it, I'll show him. But it's just that's part of the business, right? It's so tough. Like him and Weegsy both, like, they're just such amazing people, such phenomenal players. You feel for them, right? Like, that they obviously wanted to be a part of it, and it's probably human nature. Like, if I were in their shoes, I wouldn't have wanted us to win. Like, why would you?
Yeah.
They trade him away. Like, of course he doesn't want that team to win a Stanley Cup. Like, that's a no brainer. But no, we're looking forward here now, and all the vibes are great here, and I'm sure, of course, like anybody, I'm sure they wish they won the Stanley Cup, right? But we're building here, and
no, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the future here.
So we got a listener question from Sam in our Patreon. He wants to know how do you, because you've been a part of a winning team, how do you instill this winning culture in Calgary? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think it goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier about putting the team first. There's a lot of good things come from playing hard for one another, completely buying in for one another. You look at I tell the guys, the team that we lost to Vegas with in the finals 2 years ago, like I believe that our team in Calgary is better than that team. There's, that's kind of the reaction I get when I say that, but we were grinding. We were beaten up with injuries, and we still got there, and that's because we outgrinded teams. We everybody bought in, and it was amazing. just one, like Maurice didn't really, there was no real X's and O's come playoffs. We knew what our job was. We knew it was about us. We knew if we played the right way, like obviously there were some adjustments series to series. But it was that internal belief that if, like, I know where I'm going to be, I know where my linemen are going to be, I know where my D's going to be. It was so predictable. It was, you don't think we were just playing. We were just playing hard. And I believe that, like, if we get there, we can surprise a lot of people, like we have already. And that's the biggest thing is it's the buy-in. It's everybody being on the same page. It's everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing. Nobody doing extra. Everybody just do your job. And we're going to get some good results.
Are you surprised to see, because everybody gets the Stanley Cup bump, and all the guys sign.
That's right.
What's going on? Is everything okay, Ryan? You got to shut it down?
No. My phone is dying here. We're at 6%. Just a heads
up. All right, we'll wrap it up. I was going to talk about
Anthony. Black screen on us. No, we got, it's all good. We had
get him out of the camera.
we had the piss test today, so that was one of the testers coming in.
Oh no! Did you have to get it done?
I did not today. No, I'm surprised. I'm usually on there, so that's all good. Either way,
there's nothing worse than finishing practice and you're absolutely just no fluids in you. And it's like, all right, we got to get 6 ounces out of you.
Yeah, you know what? Now they tell us they tell us pretty early nowadays, like the morning of, so at least you can kind of get ahead of it. But the downside of that is you're pissing all day after.
Yeah. Well, it gives you time to get rid of the steroids in your system. All right, Tim, why don't we do some quick hits and then we'll let Ryan get out of here.
We'll do some rapid fire questions to wrap it up. Who's the toughest guy in the league right now?
Oh,
it's not so quick to answer, I guess.
Yeah.
Toughest guy in the league right now. I mean, there's a handful of them. Obviously Reeves is a big boy. Rempe, when he's up, he can chuck him. I like Olivier a lot in Columbus. I think he's a good fighter. Delorier,
he's a big topic right now.
Both those two, you can just tell that they're good fighters.
Those are my top two. Yeah,
yeah. And then I like McDermott too. I saw that guy when he didn't know how tough he was in the American League to now knowing that he's one of the toughest guys around. So pretty cool to kind of see that transition.
Who's the hardest defenseman to play against?
Hardest defenseman to play against. Probably my buddy up in Florida there, Gustav Forsling.
Yeah, who's the hardest guy to dangle, Ryan, when you're doing your toe drags?
Yeah, it's yeah, right. It's definitely him because I came off a full summer of like feeling good, and I got matched up against him with a drill that we were supposed to roast the D, and my goodness, he was there knocking it off my stick every single time. So he's elite, that guy.
There's nothing worse when you do these drills, Tim, and like the D are starting at a stop, and you're a forward, and you're like one zone ahead of them, and the D just got to go backwards, and you're supposed to just blow right by him, or they're just like casually skating with me because I wasn't fast. I'm sure you're different, but it's so frustrating. So, all right. Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
2 more questions. Give us 2 underrated players in the league, one on your team and one on another team.
Yeah, I don't know how underrated he is now, but definitely Weegsy is underrated for sure. Weegsy for sure. And then probably Bennett back in Florida. I think it's the second line center, especially come playoff time.
All right, last question. We have a lot of young kids that listen to the show. What advice do you give to kids that want to get better at hockey?
It doesn't matter where you are. Just keep getting better every day. I know a kid, especially growing up in the GTA, you kind of get caught up in the race about guys getting ranked and drafted and this and that, and kids get discouraged. You look around, like every NHL team I've been on, there's at least a handful, 4 or 5 guys that were late bloomers playing AA growing up. Not the guy on their team in juniors, this and that. So as a kid, it's easy to get discouraged when you compare yourself to the kids around you. It's tough not to do with the drafts and all that stuff. Like they do it for you.
The parents and the coaches and everybody. Yeah,
it's so tough. And what I tell kids is, if you really want it, and you commit yourself to it, all you have to worry about is getting better every day. That's all you have to do. Because if you continue to do that, you eventually will make it. It doesn't matter. It may not be until you're 30 years old. But if you want to do it, it could be done. It doesn't matter where you are right now.
Then you got 16 teams trying to sign you to an NHL contract, and you signed a 7-figure deal, which is absolutely bonkers. I never did that. I never got to the $1 million a year, and you're getting $2 million a year. What's the first thing you bought? Like what? Because you got to treat yourself a little bit, right? What did you get anything special?
We bought a house in Calgary, so I guess that goes. Yeah,
smart,
nice. So is that where you're going to settle down forever? Then, or are you going to go back to Ontario?
You know, my wife and I have talked about it. We really do love it out here. You know, the community we're in is phenomenal. Just the lifestyle out here. Everybody's happy. Everybody's so nice, very neighborly, very respectful. It seems like a tremendous place to raise a family and to live. So obviously we got buried by snow the other night. So there's that kind of new element compared to the Florida days. But you know, my pup loves it. My kids are loving it. So we really do love it here.
Well, man, I'm sure they love you, and I appreciate you coming on, making some time, Ryan. This was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. Good luck the rest of the season, and good luck with the newborn on the way, man.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, Ryan Lomberg, everybody. Thanks for listening. Have a good one. Cheers. 1, 2.